Hello and welcome to Daytime, your place for scary stories straight from the horror forums of Reddit. Make sure to like and subscribe for more horror tales of things that go bump in the night. On tonight's episode, a man receives a mysterious letter inviting him to a vacation with a deadly history. This is the ending, part 2 of Whisper Pines.
You ever have that moment where you realize you're not dreaming? Not because everything makes sense, but because the fear sticks. It doesn't go away. It sinks into your bones like cold water. That was me, waking up on night 3 in Whisper Pines. I didn't remember falling asleep, but when I opened my eyes, I was in the basement, on the floor, covered in dust, and the chains on the little door in the corner were gone. I hadn't touched them. I swear on my life. But something had. I backed away, heart racing. The air smelled like copper and rot, like wet metal baking in stale heat. I whispered, "Elena?" Nothing. No response. I was alone, at least I thought I was. Then I noticed a light, soft and flickering, coming from beneath the door where the chains used to be, and I heard something. Not voices, not footsteps. It was music. A music box. Playing the same tune I used to hum as a kid when Zach and I camped here. A lullaby our grandmother used to sing. He called it the Good Night Song. It was his song. I should have run. I should have nailed that door shut and never gone back. But I didn't. I opened it. What I saw on the other side wasn't a room. It was a hallway. Wooden walls, candlelight, no floor, just black water, ankle deep. And stretched out across the walls, carved in long, jagged lines, were names. Hundreds of them. Some I recognized. Zach's, Elena's, even mine, written twice. Once near the start, once at the very end. The hallway kept going, deeper than it should have. Like the basement had no bottom. I walked for what felt like an hour. The deeper I went, the more warped the air became. I couldn't tell if I was sweating or freezing. My breath fogged and disappeared. And then I saw him. Not Zach, not Elena, not one of the others. This thing. It stood hunched in the water. Skin like soaked paper. Thin. Almost see-through. A face made of faces, constantly shifting, whispering. It looked at me, if you can even call what it did looking, and it smiled. I couldn't move. Couldn't blink. Then it whispered, "You still remember. That's why you're here." I asked what it was. It said, "I'm what's left when memory rots. I'm the price for things unforgotten." Then it lifted a finger, pointed at me, and I saw it, floating in the water in front of me. A body, mine, dead, eyes open, mouth filled with mud and tape. I screamed, but no sound came out. Then I blinked and I was back in the cabin. Sitting in the chair by the fire, holding a mug of coffee, still steaming, just like the day I arrived, only everything was cleaner now. The walls were fresh, the floors polished, and there was a man sitting across from me, late 20s, same building, same face. He smiled, and I realized it was me, but not quite. Older, different eyes, like something was watching from behind them. He said, "This is your last chance, Jackson. Most of us don't make it to the third night." I asked what he meant. He said, "This place doesn't feed on fear. It feeds on memory, pain, grief. That's how the Whisper Man finds you. That's how he binds you." I asked who the hell he was. He said, "I'm what's left of the last version of you who thought he could break the cycle." And then, like smoke, he vanished. The fireplace went out, and carved into the back of my hand, without any blood or pain, was a symbol, a spiral made of teeth. I looked it up later. It's an old symbol, Celtic or older, meant cycle without end. I tried leaving again, but the forest had changed. The path was gone. Trees now had faces, some weeping, some smiling, some frozen like they'd just screamed. In the sky, no sun, just gray. like something had swallowed time. That's when I saw a figure watching me from the treetops, perched like a bird. Its neck was too long, its arms too wide, but I knew that face. It was Zach. Or something pretending to be him. He dropped down hard, bone cracking. But when I ran up to him, his skin peeled away. Underneath was someone else. Elena. She looked up at me, gasping, eyes bloodshot. Then she whispered, "Not much time. Only one way to end this." I asked, "What?" She coughed. "Burn it. But not the cabin." I said, "Then what?" She gripped my wrist hard and said, "You have to burn the memory." Then her body turned to ash in my hands, just gone. That night, I stopped sleeping. I just sat by the recorder, listening to old tapes, all labeled with different names, some familiar, some not. All of them ended the same way. Screams and silence. Then the whisper, "You are the next piece." I think I understand now. This place doesn't kill you. It copies you, keeps the original, sends the echo back. I don't know if the Jackson Hart who's talking to you right now is still the original. But if he isn't, if I'm not, then I have one last shot before nightfall. I found a room behind the fireplace. There's something inside, something pulsing, and I think I've figured it out. Not how to survive, but how to end it. If you don't hear from me after this next entry, that means it worked. But if you do hear from me, and I don't sound like myself, don't listen. Don't trust it. Don't let me in. You ever look in the mirror and not recognize yourself? Not just in a tired or hungover way. I mean, truly look and feel like there's someone else behind your eyes staring back. That's how I knew I was almost out of time. Night 4. There shouldn't be a night 4. Zach said it stops after 3, but here I was. And something had changed. The cabin wasn't falling apart anymore, but it was fixing itself. The wallpaper was clean. The lights worked. There was music playing upstairs. Soft jazz like some 1940s hotel lounge. And on the kitchen table was a birthday cake. One candle. Burning. The frosting said, "Welcome home, Jackson." That's when I realized I wasn't being haunted anymore. I was being celebrated. That scared me more than anything else. I lit the recorder one last time. Hit play on a fresh tape I'd found labeled Elena Final Log. She sounded distant, worn down. She said, "If you're hearing this, you made it farther than most, but you still don't understand. You were never the guest. You were the replacement, the reset. You're here to start it again." I couldn't breathe. She went on. "The cabin doesn't feed on souls. It feeds on stories, painful ones, broken ones. It traps you inside your worst memory and makes you live it over and over until you stop fighting it, until you become a character in someone else's nightmare." I dropped the tape recorder because it finally clicked. This wasn't my story, it was Zach's. All of it. The tape, the cabin, the invitation. It was his grief. His way of trying to relive what happened to us as kids. Because when we were 12, I almost died here. I fell through the ice out on the lake, was underwater for 3 minutes, clinically dead for 2. Zach pulled me out, gave me CPR, saved my life, but I think part of me never left that lake. Neither did he. I went upstairs. Every room was lit with candles now, each one showing a different version of me in the reflection. Me as a teenager, me as a child, me as an old man. Each one whispered something different, but they all said the same final word. Remember! That's when I opened the secret room behind the fireplace. It wasn't empty anymore. It was filled with boxes, shoe boxes, dozens of them. Inside each one, those were memories. Letters, photos, little toys, dried flowers, things I hadn't seen in years. And in the center of it all was a VHS tape, labeled The Last Day. I found a player, plugged it into the old TV. The screen went black for a second, then flickered to life. And what I saw was a home video. Zach and I, 8 years old, running around the lake, laughing, throwing rocks. He says something like, "Race you to the dock," and I trip. Fall hard. Then the screen cuts. Now it's night. There's screaming. A flashlight bouncing through trees, and our dad's voice yelling my name. The screen goes static, then shows a hospital bed. It's me, hooked up to a monitor. Zach's standing over me, crying, saying, "Wake up, please, don't leave me here alone." And then the camera pans and shows another bed. Empty, same room, same machines, but unplugged. Zach had never gotten out of Whisper Pines. I had. He died waiting for me to wake up. That's when I finally understood what the Whisper Man really was. He wasn't some monster, not really. He was the grief Zach left behind, twisted into something endless, something that needed to remember again and again, until it found a way to bring me back. And this time, it had. I wasn't trapped in Whisper Pines. I was Whisper Pines. I was the new beginning, the next Zach. And someone else would be getting an invitation soon, unless I ended it. Right there, right then. I took the VHS tape, all the tapes, all the boxes, piled them into the fireplace, lit a match. The fire didn't catch at first, but then the cabin screamed, like the wood itself didn't want to burn. The walls twisted, the lights blew out. The air filled with thousands of voices crying out at once. And then I heard Zach. Not a whisper, a scream. "Why'd you leave me, Jack?" That broke me. I dropped to my knees and said, "I didn't. I never meant to." Then, the fire roared. It caught. The cabin started to collapse. And in the final moment, right before everything turned to black, I saw a boy standing in the flames. Zach smiling, and he said, "Thank you for remembering." I woke up in a hospital. Same one from the tape. No beard, no dirt. Just clean sheets and a nurse asking me if I knew what year it was. They said I'd been in a coma. 2 days, not 4 nights, not 12 years, just 2 days. My parents were there, my sister, but not Zach. Because Zach had died back when we were kids, just like the tape showed, just like I'd forgotten. They told me the coma might have triggered old memories, hallucinations. They have no idea what I really saw, but sometimes, when I'm alone, I still hear him. The Whisper Man. Only now, he sounds like me. Pause. So, if you're still watching, if you ever get a letter in the mail, no return address, no postage, and it says, "Come back to the Pines," don't. Because the story's always looking for a new ending. And it might be yours.
If you enjoyed this video, make sure to subscribe for more horror tales.